So once you are in Adobe Illustrator, if you press Command N, that's going to give you a new document, and Command plus or minus lets you zoom in and out. That's always useful to do. And I'm going to give you an overview of how you would create shapes. So the ellipse tool, if you right-click that, it gives you different types of shape. So again, I'm just adding in a rectangle there, and I can change the color fill as well as the stroke color. So you see those two different options up there at the top. You can also play around with how thick you'd like the stroke to be, the style of stroke. So again, please familiarize yourself with that. It's just a nice added in stylistic choice that you can do for any of the shapes. And again, all shapes are editable in Adobe Illustrator. So you can customize and play around to your heart's content. So of course you can also rotate shapes once you've created them, and when you create multiple shapes, you can also build them together or subtract parts out, just like we've looked at with pages. So that's the Page Builder tool. So I'm going to create another object here, and then I will select them both. You'll notice that I've selected the full arrow on the left, so I select both. I go over to my Shape Builder tool. I select that. And then if I just go ahead and pull down through both of the shapes, that's going to create one object for me. So that's a really nice way that I can easily meld and mold shapes together. Now I mentioned that also, of course, you can use the Shape Builder tool to subtract or to exclude parts. So let me create two images to do that. And then again, when I use the selection arrow, the black one on the left, to select both of the circles, and then I go over to my Shape Builder tool, I'm going to hit Option, and you'll notice that there's a tiny little minus next to the arrow. That means that I can subtract or pull away from the shape. So that's another really nice feature built in. And once you're playing around with shapes, underneath Effect, you'll find the 3D effect. And what's really nice is you can customize that 3D effect to your preference, as I'm doing here. I click OK, and then it's going to render my shape 3D. So do have a look at that. The other tool that's really useful to use with shapes is your eraser tool. So I've created a rectangle here. I'm going to select the eraser tool and just kind of cut lines through, and that's going to break my shape apart and then allow me to edit different parts of that shape. It's a really simple way to play around with the design in Adobe Illustrator and to have kind of a unique stylized look, as you can see here. And now that I can customize each component of those different parts that I've broken apart, I'm also going to go through, and if I go over to my text tool, I'm going to show you how to add text or type on a path. So when I right click, type on a path is one of my options, and I just put my cursor where I'd like the text to be, and no matter the shape of the object, I can add text alongside it. You'll notice, of course, that that shape disappeared once I did that, and that's because once I add type on a path, it turns that shape into a text path. So if I want the shape to stay, what I need to do is create the object and then copy it and include that object right over top. So it's almost like an additional layer, like I'm doing right here, so that then when I go to my text tool and I select type on a path, once I've turned that object into a text object, it looks like I still am writing directly on the object. So again, if you want the object to still be a part of the design, you need to copy it and layer it directly over. Otherwise, it'll disappear. So again, please do play around with the type on a path tool, play around with the fonts that you have, the font styles that you have. Again, there's so many tools in Adobe Illustrator. Hours and hours and hours could be spent just experimenting. Today, we're just taking about 20 minutes to do so. So the other thing that's really powerful is you can add text, and then of course you can just edit that. So in order to do that, I've added my text. I'm making it nice and big. Then from the top menu, once I've selected all the text, I will go to Type, Create Outlines. So then once I zoom in, what you'll see is each letter has its own editable points. And again, you want to zoom in to make it easy to see the editable points there. So then what I can do is I can edit each and every letter. Okay, so and then using my shapes tool, I can go ahead and incorporate in and layer some shapes so that I've got one cohesive design. That's it. So hopefully that's a good refresher or a very fast introduction to Adobe Illustrator. Have fun.